Hey everyone, JR here, just lounging around in the backyard right now, getting ready to do a review. In case it isn't glaringly obvious, the review will be of my hammock setup. I have used it in a couple of our past videos, and today I'll be kind of breaking it down, showing you off all the features and cool stuff, and talking about the pros and cons to hammock camping. So today we will be going over the Hennessy hammock. This is the Deluxe Explorer. This is the XL and it's an asymmetric zip. So when it says zip versus like a lot of them will open up at the bottom here, you can kind of get in through the bottom, and then when you lie down your body weight keeps it zipped and cinched closed. So this one is actually going to have the zipper, as you can see along the line here, and it's got the attached bug net. That is one of the big features that I wanted when I was picking up a hammock, and I really enjoy this. It's very comfortable. It's good for the summer. I don't currently have an underquilt for it, but it's a really good summer thing, and it's kind of great for backpacking because it takes up a lot less space than a full tent, and I can even go without having the sleeping pad when I come out with the hammock because I just don't really tend to need it when it's a warmer day out. So I went ahead and undid this side of the rainfly so we can kind of get a good look at what the hammock is. The rainfly is actually attached here, and then on the other side it's got a similar thing, and it kind of comes down and slopes down this way. You can kind of go a little wider if you want, and that will increase the coverage from the sun in the summer. But sometimes if the rain comes in from the side, I have had issues with it coming in from the sides here, especially down on the lower portion, so then it can kind of pull up if there gets too many. But otherwise you can slant it down kind of how I have it here. This is the flapped over, but when it's sloped down it really protects from the rain a lot better. So some of the specs on this hammock, this is the larger version. Like I said, it's the Deluxe Explorer XL. Some of the specs on this hammock are preferable to some of the other variants that they have. This is actually good. They recommend if you're about 6 feet or over to get this versus one of their other ones. I'm 6'1", so that's kind of why I chose to go with this one. It's been very nice. I've got plenty of head and leg room. I'll show you a little bit inside the hammock, but I've got plenty of head and leg room for it. And it's good for up to 300 pounds, it says. It probably can go a little more, but I'm under that weight limit. Not by much, but I'm under it, so it's been very comfy for me. It's definitely been different getting acclimated to a hammock. If you have never slept in a hammock before, it can be a little different, and I wouldn't say it takes a lot of work to get comfortable, but it's definitely just something you have to get used to. Well, I was going to get out of the hammock and kind of talk about the pros and cons, but honestly, I'm just lounging and this is super comfy, so I'll just do it from in here. So laying out some of the pros of the hammock, I would say, again, space saved and weight saved in my pack. This, again, doesn't force me to bring my sleeping pad in the winter, or summer months, I'm sorry. Doesn't force me to bring the sleeping pad in the summer months, and this takes up less space overall than my tent does. So that's really nice. I can either just carry a lighter pack or have a few extra creature comforts that I normally wouldn't bring. Another pro to this, I would say, is it's just kind of unique, and you can string up, even in some uneven territory, you can string up between two trees and kind of post wherever the trees are rather than having to find a good, clean, flat spot like you would with a tent. The last big pro that I would say for one of these is just like overall it's very comfortable in my opinion. Again, you don't have the sleeping pad and you're not sleeping on hard ground. It's a little sloped, but once you get used to it, it's actually really comfortable. And it's really nice to just be able to lay and swing a little bit and just stargaze when you take the rainfly off. Alright, now I'm in the hammock, and as you can see, I've got a decent amount of headroom. Kind of move the phone around here just so you can see how much space. So this is zipped up. This is with the bug net. Of course I don't have the rain fly on right now over the top of that side, but you can kind of see how much space it gives, and you can take the rain fly off and really get some nice stargazing in at night. So if we look over here, see, that's about my foot room. So it's really not that bad, especially if you're used to a one-person backpacking tent that's going to be pretty small. I know Kyle uses the Nemo Hornet, I believe. His might be a two-person, but it's pretty tight in there. And this is probably maybe a little less room than the one-person backpacking tents, but you can keep your gear underneath the hammock, especially when you have the rain fly over and everything. It'll keep everything dry. Just, of course, you're not keeping your food and all that with it, but I like to, again, I like these little pockets. I get to keep generally my phone charger. I keep a bottle of water, some snacks, and a book. It's kind of what I keep in the hammock with me. And again, I don't use a sleeping pad when I have the hammock. You probably could. It would help you stay warm, but I really don't mind. Just I can be pretty comfortable down to about 50 in just my 35-degree bag, sleeping bag in this thing. I just get one pillow here, sleeping bag, and this hammock takes up a lot less room than a tent, like I said earlier, in your backpack. So not having to have the sleeping pad plus having less room being taken up by your shelter really actually frees up a decent amount of space in your pack. If you've ever thought about trying a hammock and you weren't really sure because you haven't ever even gotten to do it, I'd say this is a pretty good one for a starter hammock. Again, this is, I think I paid about $185 for this. It was during an REI sale, I want to say, but it felt like a reasonable price, and it was all included, you know, rain fly. The only thing it didn't come out was stakes. But I just used my tent stakes and just kind of switch them back and forth. I'm sure at some point it'll bite me in the butt and I'll forget them when I bring the hammock and left the stakes in the tent bag, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, or maybe at some point I'll get some dedicated hammock stakes. Alright, I wanted to go over some of the cons, and I wanted to get out of the hammock because there's specific points that I kind of want to show everyone, especially for this tent in particular. So again, this line here keeps it flat and keeps the asymmetrical build for you. I am really not a fan of these little plastic things here that hook. They've just failed in the past and kind of bend, and I guess maybe I was doing them too tight at times, but they just were not holding up whenever I would get in the hammock. So I was not really a big fan of that. Another one is the straps. Again, this is my Atlas strap system from Eno, and I kind of have a different strap system than from what comes in the box. So if you don't already have that, you'll have to either purchase it or you'll have to use the basic one that comes with it. And I am really not a fan with the basic one. The straps are a lot smaller, so you can't get around the bigger trees, and it's just a little more complex. You really got to tie better knots, whereas here, as we can see, this is nothing sophisticated what I've done in here. It's pretty simple to do and to take down. Also easily adjustable, so I just prefer this system, even though it does add a little bit of extra bulk to your pack. The last con I would say is probably, again, just kind of tough to get used to these. If you're not used to hammock camping, it's definitely different from tent camping. It's preferable for a lot of reasons, but I can see a lot of people just really not enjoying it if you're not used to it and don't really want to try to get used to it. This is definitely a more unique way of camping, and again, it's just something that I think people should definitely give a try if you have a chance to rent or borrow a hammock from a friend. Definitely worth trying, and I think a lot of people will love it. The rainfly, again, the rainfly that it comes with, it does the job. I am very satisfied with it. I've had this in a couple of storms and never had any issues, but it could be a little bigger. As you see, it's just pretty much shaped to go over the hammock here, so it just barely goes over it. It doesn't really provide any other coverage besides over the hammock, which is fine because you can just put your gear underneath, but sometimes it would be nice to be able to bring it up a little bit, and if you had a little more space over here, then maybe you could even just sit your chair right over here and sit underneath your own rainfly from your hammock and relax. But otherwise, I'd say I don't really have a lot of big issues with the hammock. It's been very good to me. I think the price is pretty fair for everything, and if you're not going to get an underquilt, I mean, you're looking at under $200 for a shelter, and you don't need a sleeping pad again. So I think that it's definitely worth a try, and I think everybody should check it out.